Ooh, how are we, GameLeap? The Jizz is back at it, and in today's video, I'm not sure if you've been watching TFBlade recently, but he's been playing supports in the top lane. That's right, and he's been killing it, to be honest, and I'm going to show you one of the cheesiest champions and strategies that will help you dumpster your opponent and win games on repeat. So if you're sick and tired of playing Darius, Aurelia, Fiora, and you might be sick of playing against them, well, by the end of this video, you are going to learn how to easily beat them by applying some key techniques that TFBlade is currently abusing. Now, before we get into the gameplay, if you are a fan of the recent GameLeap YouTube content, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Jizz-infused uploads, and also make sure to check out our GameLeap website, GameLeap.com. We have helped thousands of summoners improve with our daily challenger tier content, so sign up for that exclusive access for the rest of the season, links in the description and comment section. Now, this cheese strategy that TFBlade has been using starts with you locking in Alistar in Champ Select, and we are bringing the cow to the top lane. And to move your way to victory, run these runes on your screen right now. So Electrocute is in there for the burst damage, and a simple WQ auto combination will proc that damage. Cheap Shot is in there because we have so much crowd control, Eyeball Collection because it's easy to stack, Ultimate Hunter because we want as many ultimates as possible, Mana Flow Band because you can go after just a couple of combos, and Transcendence because cooldown is very important, and we are all about our abilities. And for your minor runes, you can take anything, to be honest, but I would recommend 1 Adaptive Force and then 2 Armor or 2 Magic Resist depending on the matchup. Alright, now you have the runes down pat, what is the first thing you have to do? Well, as Alistar, your level 1 could be the weakest in the entire game. So before the minion waves collide in the top lane, we are simply looking out for an invade in this river brush and minding our own business. Never run to this tri brush or through the lane brushes, because if you run into the enemy top laner, you are going to take a pointless amount of damage. So we've safely gotten to the start of the laning phase. So how do we play the first wave and first level? Well, like I said, Ali is weak as early on, and you don't have to do this on Alistar, by the way. This will work on any weak early game champion. So we want to let the wave push into us so we can last hit closer to our tower, and there is less chance of us dying. And this means that even in lanes like this, right, where the enemy top laner is missing, we do not start randomly auto-attacking the minions. You leave them. They are a plague. This runs the risk of pushing the lane, and you leave yourself vulnerable to getting ganked. But when these 3 melee minions get into last hit range, you can of course move up to auto-attack them, but an even better tactic is to use your Q to get them and the enemy champion if they walk up. So this Aurelia, for example, knowing you're not the strongest early game champion, is probably licking her lips when you move towards her. But your Pulverize is an excellent disengage tool because it knocks them up, obviously, meaning they can't retaliate, but make sure after pressing Q, you walk away. Even going in for a cheeky auto attack after you knock them up is risky, because when they land, you will be in range of their auto attacks, and no doubt you would lose out in that trade, especially if it's a Conqueror DPSer like Aurelia. So Q and walk back. Now, TFBlade's next play is to last hit this range minion, but I want all of you to only do this if the enemy champion lets you. So this Aurelia, for example, is standing in such a passive position and just lets Top Vacation 69 get 14 gold for free. But a better Aurelia or player would be standing on top of this minion, ready to punish the weaker Alistar for moving up to last hit. And this is something that I like to call a mini trade, and this is something the best top laners in the world will do. And what the Jizz means is that you never want to be giving up a resource in the lane for free if you are stronger than your opponent. So this conversation between TFBlade and Aurelia goes something like, oh hey Aurelia, do you mind if I last hit this ranged minion without you hitting me? Yeah, sure man, no worries, I'm hard stuck. Whereas the reply from this Aurelia should be, are you pulling my leg? Of course not. You want that 14 gold, I want 100 HP. And in that situation, it is never worth it for TFBlade to lose that much HP for just one ranged minion. You get the experience, and that's all you need to be a happy cow. Now in this lane, because Aurelia has been playing it like she's the Nasus, TFBlade manages to hit level 2 at the same time. And this is where you have a little bit of trade potential with your opponent, but it's so important to understand that without your Q and W, you are dead meat, literally. So we always want to be using one of these abilities as a disengage tool for a standard trade, which means you are never, ever going to W and Q onto an opponent like you would if you were playing support Alistar. So what you want to do, like TFBlade does in this example, is Q when you are in range of your opposite number, auto attack as many times as possible, and use your headbutt for when the enemy champion is threatening to retaliate. So because TFBlade doesn't want the Aurelia to stack her passive on his minions and to jump on him when he's taking minion aggro after auto attacking her, he sends her back to her tower, and the trade is a big win. But it's essential to know what to do after trading like this, because you are on cooldown. You are just an auto attack champion at this point. So in your games, run back like TFBlade does after you W to de-aggro the enemy minions. But if I pause it, if Alistar and Aurelia were to straight out fight in this lane lane state, why isn't it bad for TFBlade? Well, the obvious thing is that Aurelia is close to half HP, and Alistar is practically full HP, so any trade would bring Aurelia very close to death. So in your games, there is no reason to fear a champion who is nowhere near as healthy as you, even if you are on cooldown. Now, one of the great advantages of playing a champion like Alistar or any tank champion in the top lane is that it's very easy to punish your opponent's mistakes. But we can't punish a mistake if we don't spot the mistake. So can you see what Aurelia does wrong here? She wastes her E, that's right, and uses it in such close proximity to TFBlade so that when his Q and W are both up, she can die for it. So TFBlade chases her down while hitting level 3 as well, the icing on the cake, and Fade Away ignites her for first blood. And this kill is possible because TFBlade is counting cooldowns, both his own and his opponent's. So if you pay attention to your opponent's abilities, there is no reason why you can't punish them when they misstep, just like TFBlade does here. And this is one way you can separate yourself from a lot of top laners. Now, because the Jizz is in a good mood, I'm going to give you one rule you can use in your games that is going to give you the guidance you need in the first few levels to crush your opponents. And this rule is the 3-second rule. And it's not the one we all need for the bedroom. The Jizz is referring to your cooldowns on Summoner's Rift. So essentially what this rule means is that when your abilities are 3 seconds away from coming back up, you can start fighting the enemy champion. How simple is that? Now, this rule is most applicable before you and your opponent's first base. And you can see TFBlade apply this here before he kills Aurelia. His Pulverize and Headbutt are only a few seconds away from being ready, so he actively pursues a trade, knowing that after a couple of auto attacks, he will have his abilities ready to use. Now, this will obviously be risky to apply if you were the Aurelia in this situation because you are chunked, and you would be fighting in a superior creep wave. So if these two factors are not in your favor or close to being even, the 3-second rule does not apply. There has to be some sort of balance in the other lane conditions to use it. Now, TFBlade doesn't have teleport in this game, and I'm not saying you have to in yours, but this means we have to be even more precise with how we manage our minion waves. So listen up here, this is very important. Now, as we let this play out a little bit, what do you think of TFBlade's decision to almost slow push like this? Are you a fan? Because the Jizz thinks he should be doing the opposite and hard pushing, and there are 2 reasons why. He doesn't have teleport, so he cannot recall and instantly teleport back to the lane to match Aurelia, so he has to create a back timer by sorting out the wave, and the faster he does this, the better. And the second reason is that there is no trouble in hard pushing it because his jungler is top side of the map, so if Aurelia was to teleport directly back onto the wave, Alistar can bait her into fighting him, and it's a 2v1. So whenever you are pulling off this strategy, guys, and the wave is pushing into the enemy tower and you get a kill, hard push it every day of the week, which means auto attacking the minions as much as possible, queuing as many as possible, and this means you will miss less minions in the future and you will spend more of your time in lane with your item advantage. And by the way, if this type of video is something you find useful and informative, let the Jizz know by leaving a like down below. And TFBlade is about to show you how to win every trade as Alistar with exactly the same order of abilities we looked at earlier. So he waddles back to lane and all of a sudden the Aurelia dashes in. This might be a Wukong, this might be a Fiora, and TFBlade instantly knocks her up. And instead of headbutting her away, he headbutts Aurelia perilously close to his tower range, and this is one massive threat you have as an Alistar in the top lane. Similar to a singed fling. When that enemy champion closes that gap for you by jumping in, all you have to do is Q and E at the same time, then use that time they are airborne to walk behind them and W. Now, as soon as this trade ends and Ali is on cooldown, TFBlade backs up and chills, which is a technique we have already looked at. But can you notice what he's doing here that you have to do as well? Because his position is rather aggressive, seeing as he doesn't have any cooldowns and they are more than 3 seconds away. But what he's doing is applying a fake pressure to the lane, and against players who are not cooldown aware, this tactic can extend your lead and help you snowball your lane. So this fake pressure tactic is best applied when the position of the lane is in line with this big rock or even deeper. So let's call this the big rock pressure. Now, pressure has to lead to something, right? Otherwise it isn't real. So the key mechanic here is to stand just behind a minion your opponent is thinking of last hitting. So what you're essentially saying is, Aurelia, if you go for this CS, I'm going to headbutt you and knock you into my tower. And this unaware Aurelia's reply is, okay, I'm just going to leave it then. So by just standing in a position where you are threatening to punish your opponent for going for minions near your tower, you deny gold and make them fall even further behind. Now, the final tip that Jizz is about to show you is one that will force your opponents to regret life, and this is the big rock freeze. So we have the big rock pressure, and now we are applying the freeze. So in order to freeze this wave in line with this big rock, TFBlade has to keep at least 3 healthy ranged minions away from his tower. Now, the reason we have to do this with caster minions is because melee minions can be really volatile, and they will sometimes RNG into your tower and ruin the freeze you have created. Ranged minions are 100% reliable. So that's the first thing, the actual number and type of minion we need, but perhaps what's even more important is how to actually keep the lane in this amazing position. Well, all you are doing is last hitting like TFBlade, but there will be times when the enemy minions are threatening to run into your tower like they are here. So one trick you can apply is the brush trick, and it sounds a little weird, but it is crucial to understand and do. So if TFBlade runs back to his tower here, like lots of top laners would, the freeze ends and the lane will bounce towards the equator of Summoner's Rift. This would make Aurelia very happy, so we don't want that. If TFBlade stands still, the lane will still be frozen, which is what we want, but he will take more damage than he has to from these minions. So the trick here is to distract the enemy minions by running towards this first brush and into it, and this is going to pull the minions away from your tower and gives your next minion wave time to arrive in lane and collide to reapply the freeze, and you take less damage. It is such a low-key huge tactic that is used by the very elite on a regular basis, so separate yourself from the competition and do the same. And the effect of this, Aurelia can't play the lane. The pressure, the freeze, the cow, it's all too much, and TFBlade kills her shortly after, and the lane is over. So the Jizz guarantees, if you can apply what we have talked about in this video, top lane is free low when you play a hard engaged support in there like Alistar, and on your way out, remember to check out the GameLeap website for all the tips, guides, courses, and analyses you need in Season 11, and until tomorrow's video, this has been the Jizz.